You, what's good? I hope you're doing fantastic. Motherfucker. What's poppin', y'all? What's poppin'? It is I again, back at you with the wizardy vibes. Trying to be an old man, embrace the oldness, gaining that wisdom so I can embark on a spiritual journey. Anyways, what's poppin', y'all? Hope you guys been good. I am back. It's been another busy week, but I'm trying to keep these things consistent. And I'm gonna briefly go over some simple stories, some old stories, and go over what I'm drawing here. Again, I always use when I practice, I always use like a ink brush or a pen, something more permanent. And I'm doing, if you guys don't know, I'm trying to envision this mystical frog guy, and these little critter adventurers are meeting this ancient being of sorts, like a bullfrog. But I first start with a shape because I want to get a general idea of what the volume and form is going to look like, and then I'll design within the space. It's not always a banger, but sometimes it's a good time. I recommend you guys try it out. But anyways, I've been solid. Let's see. I met up with a homie recently. I haven't seen him in a while. He treated me out to some dinner. Brother, if you're watching this, I appreciate you. That was some of the best Cajun food I've ever had. I never really had Cajun food other than what, like boiling crab and gumbo? Is boiling crab even Cajun? But it was like Creole food. It was bomb as hell. And then I got these, brother gave me these graffiti markers from Korea. Magic Kepu, if you guys can see it. Magic Cap. I'm not gonna expose myself, maybe just a little bit. I can go into that. But yeah, I got these little things. These work really nice. Just in case you need to be creative outside of your domain. I'm not trying to promote you going out there and tagging up the streets, but hey, maybe within a safe environment, in a legal environment, you can use these. And yeah, this reminds me, like in high school when I didn't take things so serious. I used to go to a public school, LAUSD, and because you don't really have a lot of guidance and structure, you kind of just float. And I definitely did that. A lot of people in my class was like that. It was a good mixture of, mostly it was like black, Korean, and Hispanic. Um, or yeah, and there were gangs there. There was always like some kind of crazy ass lockdown going on. Like every other month, it's like somebody brings a knife to school, and, or something. Like something's going on, or there's some kind of like heated rivalry between the gangs, and so the students will get into some shit, and then their cousins or their brothers will pull up, and then there'll be a whole fucking fight or like a war. And I remember the cops used to be posted up. It used to be on Fairfax and Melrose. So I used to go to Fairfax. Now, I don't know what Fairfax is like now, but when I used to go there, it was chill for the most part. But my God, there was a section, there was like a subsect of just hooligans, just always getting into some shit. Every every day after school, the cops would be posted up on Fairfax and Melrose, and there were helicopters there because the students would either get into some fight or they'll jump people, just random people and strangers. And in that bus stop, I remember that it got so bad to the point where the bus driver You'll wait for the bus stop, and the bus driver will come across. He'll drive, and he'll just go straight past you. He said, "Man, fuck them kids, bro. I ain't dealing with that." Because one time, the the kids jumped the bus driver. They whooped his ass because the kids were going into the back of the bus. They would like, okay, the bus driver stops. You got to go in, pay for your fare, and then go inside the bus. Some students will, because of the back of the bus, there's another door that opens. The students will just swarm inside the back and not pay their fare. And one day the bus driver got so fed up, he didn't leave. And he says, "Y'all got to get out. Y'all got to get out. This bus ain't leaving until you get out." So as they were leaving, they dragged him out of the bus and they started whooping him. They started beating him. Man, straight, bro. Fucking Neanderthal behavior. It was so insane. But anyways, yeah, I remember back in high school, like not taking school so serious. And it wasn't until after I graduated. I barely graduated. I was such a terrible academic. I used to get straight F's and D's, and I had to go to night school. It's like it's kind of like adult school, but it's like a night program where you try to get your credits up so you can graduate. And I remember the students there, their age range was like all over the place. Like there were some students who were like my age, like 17 years old, 16, 17 years old, and then some others who were like they look like they're in their mid 20s, 30s. They're just trying to get their GED, and they're all um well, not all of them, but a handful of them were like gang members, or that's what yeah, I think they were gang members. You can just tell by the look. They had the pro club, they have the dicky pants, and then they have the flannel. They got the shape, they got the cholo fit. I call it the cholo fit. They got the Nike Cortezes, they got tattoos. I'm like, man. Anyways, I ain't trying to get into no trouble, and I'm sure they're trying to turn their life around. So after that, I realized like, okay, I got to take this a little bit more seriously. But at the time, I used to practice like a lot of tagging and graffiti. I was toy. A toy means like a newbie, an unskilled like graffiti artist. Hey, I'll take the humble beginnings, man. But it's something that I thought, you know, it's so cool. I used to admire a lot of the street art because they people don't know who they are, and I thought that was super cool. Like I want to be able to just have my art out there and like nobody knows my name or nobody knows my face. And this was before when like Instagram, I think Facebook was about to kick off. It was like MySpace and whatnot, but there you have if you wanted to get your art out there, you had to post it on forums. And there wasn't really a website where you can go viral. Like now you have Instagram, you have what is you got TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. So you could post something at the comfort of your home, and you essentially just have like a free art gallery where people can potentially view your work. But man, back then, like it was just you just had to get yourself out there. And especially if you're living in like in the hood, if you're ever wondering like all this like why do kids resort to graffiti, it's essentially just to cry out for attention. Like they don't get a lot of attention from home. Like nobody knows who they are. They're told that they ain't gonna be shit. A lot of them come from, bad and broken families, and so the one way of expressing is through graffiti. And what better way than to piss on the wall and claim your territory and say this is me, right? I don't look. I'm not condoning vandalism, but I'm just going to put it at that. But and yeah, I remember me and my friends, we used to practice a lot, and it's really nerve-wracking like to go out there and start tagging. Like even just doing these little tags, you just go and just tag somewhere, it feels like someone's always looking at you. And the reason why I stopped, well, I stopped for a little bit. I was more afraid of my uncle. Uh, I was worried. I used to live with him. He wasn't blood related. He was someone who always looked after me. And he's very militant, strict, and he's not about that bullshit. So if it wasn't for him, I would have done some dumb stuff. But I used to have nightmares about the cops showing at my door, and me more so getting in trouble from my uncle than getting detained or from the cops. So yeah, but it's something that I've always like kept with me. I loved that I could be in the dark. I was just obsessed with that idea. I could be in the dark and I could potentially get my name out there. And yeah, that was always intriguing to me. And those guys, man, they have to work so hard. They're fucking crazy. I forgot what it's called, but you always want like a good spot. You want a spot where everybody can see your work, right? And the guys who I forgot what is it called. I think it's called like high heaven or something. It's like it's a really dangerous. Oh my God, what's it called again? But it's a position where you go to the very top, like very high of an elevation to get your work up. So this is like your billboards or freeways or a really tall building. And when you go there, you have more of a chance for people to see your work, but the risk is so much higher. Like there's the dangers, the environment, you potentially getting caught, but oftentimes too, it's not just like legal repercussions, but you're also facing. You don't know who the fuck you're gonna run into, like whether it's crackheads or homeless people or um, some crazy person, right? Like you just never know. But there is a thrill in that. I'm telling you, like when I could be out there for like 12 hours straight because my adrenaline is like pumping like all the time. Um, like when you're out there and you're just in the streets, it's really dangerous. Like I don't recommend, especially if you're a woman, like don't do that. But like just being out there, I could be out from like 9 p.m. till like 5 in the morning. Um, it's I don't know. I felt like at peace at times, knowing that I could just travel and I'm just on my own and nobody knows where I'm at and I'm not on my phone. I also leave all my stuff like behind. The only thing I would take with me is like maybe some money so I could travel. Um, and like my ID just in case. But yeah, like I don't know, it feels like I'm dungeon crawling and there's always a mystery behind a corner like I don't know what I'm going to run into. Um like I went to this place in downtown like the warehouse district and now there's cops posted up like everywhere. There's like security everywhere. But if you ever go to the warehouse areas in downtown or um oh God, I forgot the streets, but there's like parts of Little Tokyo, just like all around that area. Or you go to the flea markets, like you go to the flea markets after hours and you just see it's just artwork city, man. And I remember when I used to go there, it really felt like I was dungeon crawling. Like I'm going to discover something and I don't know what's about to happen. I never brought weapons with me. But what I would bring is like I brought a, oh God, what is it called? It's not a ski mask. I guess it's like a ski mask. Like it's like halfway, and I just have a backpack, and then I have my supplies. Um, am I outing myself? No, they look. I'm just talking. Okay, this is all hypothetical. If I ever get into some legal problems, I'm just talking, y'all. I'm not showing evidence. Anyways, and in those areas, there's a lot of prostitutes there. There's a lot of like, um, call them streetwalkers, call them 404s, oh, 304s, right? 304s, right? Just walking around. They're just trying to get their money, trying to get their bread up. And I remember one time I was walking. Oh, also in the warehouse districts, there's always like rave parties and and things going on. It's so interesting how you go to a place like that and it feels like the first opening scene of Blade, where the techno lights are going and it's dark as hell. Like some streets are just pitch black dark. And then right across the other street, like everything's just shut down. It's pitch black dark. There's homeless encampments, there's RVs, there's streetwalkers. And then what's crazy is like in there's like a street next to this warehouse district where it's like a line of cars, and you're wondering like, why are all these cars just huddled up in this pitch black darkness of a street? And it's because all these like truck drivers and these men after work or whatever, they're they're trying to, they're trying to get some play, and the girls there are working. And yeah, so you'll see there's like a line of people just like waiting, and then the girls will pull up and then they'll have a conversation, and then like the dudes are driving around trying to look for a purchase, right? So anyways, yeah, yeah, I remember I was walking around, and I it's really hard to find a spot, because in graffiti, like if you're going out there and you're bombing an area or you're tagging, you want to be careful. There's a difference between like gang graffiti and like people who are just trying to get their name up. But there's politics in both, and you have to be careful about that. You don't want to do, you don't want to write over someone's work, because that's disrespect. But if you could do something better than what they do, right? I forgot the hierarchy, but it's like if someone does a tag, you could do like a little throwy, and that's like a little bit of a bigger piece. It's quick, but it has more volume and form. But if you do a throwy, somebody else can go over it with like a bigger piece, a more elaborate piece. So that is fine. But if you're purposely just tagging over people's work, that's a sign of disrespect, and that can get you in trouble. Um, but yeah, now those areas are filled with cops. I remember I was walking around. Sorry, I'm going in circles. I was walking around, and I remember I turned a corner, and uh, there's prostitutes, there's girls working every like, I'd say like 50 to 100 feet. And the reason why I'm there is not because I'm not there because I'm trying to get some play. The reason why I was there is because um, sometimes cops aren't there, and all the buildings there are shut down. So you could go through the alleyways of the buildings and potentially find a spot. But that's also dangerous, because like you'll run into um, people who look sketchy as fuck. Like there's like groups of dudes just posted up inside an alleyway, and they're just, you don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they all have like, they're covered up, they're not really showing their faces. And you don't go through that area acting like this, like you're looking around like a deer in the headlights, or like like a meerkat. It's like, what? What's going on? Because if you look like you don't know where the fuck you're going, oh, you're gonna get pressed. You are gonna, something's gonna happen to you. So you always move with purpose. You always move as if like you know exactly where you're going, and you don't make eye contact. And if somebody tries to press you, you better fucking press them back or you run away. Because if you've shown signs of weakness, man, um, but yeah, and so I'm there, and uh, like the girls would be like one of the girls was like, "How you doing?" Now they talk because they're trying to get you. They're trying to riz you up, as the kids say now, right? They're trying to finesse you, and I'm not doing anything. I just said, "How you doing, ma'am?" And I just walk straight past, and I just go about my business. Um, yeah, it's funny. There's crazier stories that other people have. Like, I'm not the one to explore abandoned buildings. I've never done that. I do go to those areas. I used to go to those areas, but I don't go inside an abandoned building, especially now there's a lot of security there, and they have cameras, and they got, yeah, it's like pretty secure. Even though it might look uh empty, there's people there, or there's someone watching and they're recording you. And yeah, yeah, yeah. It's thrilling. I found it very fun. Um, it's just something that kept me keeps me away from like my computer or my games, or like now it's like social media. Like now it's like we're always glued to our phones. Like our reality is our phone now, and what people are doing, and advertisement this, you got to go to a trip that, and this person's getting married, and it's so much noise that I realized before, when I used to go just explore the city on my own, right? Like nobody knows who I am, nobody knows where I am. I don't need to check in with anybody. Um, I could die. I mean, I could get into trouble, but I found some peace in that because I get to just be present, just like be around, and just explore and do my thing. And then sometimes you'll catch like other artists like doing their thing. Those guys are so brave. Like sometimes they'll do that shit out in the open, like in a busy street. And I'm like, dude, aren't you afraid of getting caught? Like that's always the anxiety. Some people don't have that anxiety. Like I always do. Um, I remember the first time when I was tagging, I didn't want to waste time in a spot, or not waste time, but just be posted in a spot and just spend even a minute like tagging something or making something. So I used to make, I'm sure you guys seen it, those mailbox stickers. It says like, "Hello, my name is," or it says "to and from." It says "to and from," or it says like, "Hello, my name is whatever." And it's really convenient that you could make a little piece there, and then you just slap it on a corner, you slap it in a bench. And so I used to do these. I remember in high school, I would spend my time, instead of paying attention, I would just do all these little drawings and designs, and it was so much fun, right? Like I'm creating an identity, almost like I'm brand name for myself, like I'm branding. And I would I would make these designs, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready. I took the bus after school. I took the bus home. I get off on Crenshaw and Olympic, and then from there I walk to Pico, and so I get off, and immediately as I get off, I take the sticker, and in the, what is it? The stop sign, not the, oh God, the traffic light. I jump up and I go, bah! I would slap a sticker on there, and then I heard, "Hey!" And I was like, oh fuck. My first time putting on a sticker, and I'm about to get caught by a cop or something, security. What the hell's going on? I turn around. There's a, I see a cholo inside of this like old Cadillac. I don't know what type of car it was. I'm not a car person, but he was like shaven. Um, he had on the wife beater, and he was like, hey, and I was so scared. I was so scared because he's an older dude, and I'm like, am I about to get pressed? And then he goes, you write? So writing is like you're tagging, right? Like you're a writer. And I was so scared. I started shaking. I was like, uh, yeah. And then he went, what's your name? And I gave him my name. And then he like nodded. And then he went, I'm OB. Remember that. And then he drove off. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I think he was just showing me respect. Man, I was so scared. But yeah, like I think he was showing me respect. But I was like, thank God he's not jumping me or trying to press me about like where I'm from. And oh yeah, yeah. And then another time, I remember. Okay, so after a while, I got really cocky. I thought, yeah, I'm a writer. I tag. Yeah, I'm the shit. I was toy. I was hot ass. But yeah, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing. And then um and because I had this like ego about like art. So in my neighborhood, I used to live in a gang neighborhood. I used to live on Pico and Fourth Avenue, and that is like it's close to Crenshaw. And if you go south of that, there's a lot of gangs there. And so I was walking home, and I see this big ass like truck pull up. It looks like I think it was a Cadillac. Like, why the fuck? Why does everyone have Cadillac? It's like a black Cadillac, and then I see these these older black dudes come out of the car, and they're balding. I mean, not balding. They're bald. They're completely bald. They have these oversized shirts. They pull out with spray cans, and then next to my house there's gang graffiti. So if you guys don't know the difference between gang graffiti, if the lettering sucks, meaning if you look at the thing and it just looks like scribbles, it's probably gang graffiti. um, but if it has volume and form, chances are that's a writer. That's probably someone who's trying to get their name up. But there was gang graffiti right next to the wall of this house where I used to live in, and they pulled out and then they crossed it out. They were like, shh, 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 shh. They crossed it out, and then they wrote their sign next to it. They wrote their gang next to it. And me thinking, these guys aren't artists. These guys are fucking scrubs, right? These fucking hooligans. Neanderthal behavior. So I'm like, these guys don't have taste. So I was across the street and I'm about to pull up. So I was at a good distance. And then I laugh. I remember I go like that. I go like that. And these dudes, they must have been like in their 50s, like 40s and 50s. As they're tagging, they say, oh, you think it's funny, little man? I said, no, sir. Man, I acted up. I acted proper real quick. I went, no, sir. Oh, you think it's funny, little man? Dude, don't mess around. That shit will get you in trouble. But I learned like when I was like 14, 15 years old, like I learned to, just keep your fucking mouth shut. Um, yeah, man. Yeah. But um yeah, now I'm chilling. Now I do what? What is this? Furry? I'm doing furry. No, I don't do furry. I guess you can call this furry. It's funny, I don't even do furry. I'm just doing like anthropomorphic characters. What am I doing right now? Oh, I'm working on a thing. And this is just like inspired by the thing that I'm working on, and I'm just doing these little critters, like animals exploring a dungeon, going on adventures, cozy vibes all around, right? Opposite of how I grew up, right? Now, this is like, yay, nice, and we're gonna go on a fun little thing, and um, yeah, yeah. And then here, I try to get perspective down, uh, by kind of ghosting it. It's not exact, but I just pick a an eye level and then a vanishing point for certain objects, and then we'll just try to eyeball perspective a little bit, rather than drawing out the whole grid. It's not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. I just want it to be somewhat believable, and that's my thing. But yeah, y'all, I didn't take art seriously in high school. I used to take my like me being a writer. I used to take that very serious. I wanted to do what I needed to do, and in order for you to get your name up there, like you have to go out there and put in fucking work. These guys put in fucking work. They put in hella work. But yeah, I figured there's probably a better route for my life. Um, and it wasn't until like I got to community college that I started to take my craft more seriously, because you have to pay everything out of your own pocket, right? Um, and I'm like, what? I gotta pay for books? Holy Jesus. I didn't take none of that. I took everything for granted when I was in high school. You know, when you're in high school, you think like you're never gonna grow up. Like you think you're just gonna be a kid forever. But eventually, once you hit senior year, or maybe or for most sensible people, like when you're younger, even younger, you realize like you gotta get your shit together. Um, and then yeah, yeah, that's a story for another time. I remember I got into kind of like a mentorship art program. If you guys know Brainstorm, it's like something like that. And I learned under um, Anthony Jones, Robot Pencil, and Jung Park, who works at Respawn, Luke Berliner, who is the art director at God of War at Sony. But and then a handful of other people, and I learned under these guys, and it was a big wake up call. Like the amount of discipline that is required to achieve their level was so inspiring, and that really humbled me and made me realize like how much I needed to work. But yeah, I could talk about that some other time. Um, I want to go over. Let's see. Okay. All right. Q&A. Q&A. Yo, get off the hay. Q&A. Q&A. Your mom's a bay. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, I can get to some of these comments. Again, I really appreciate y'all for always tuning in and just checking out my videos and just having it in the background. That is the whole point of my talks. Zoo733. I just wanted to thank you for this video. Had a really fun drawing session with your video in the background. And you mentioned, you said in the video or in your comment you read about the high school student choosing between engineering and art really resonated with me. I was in a similar boat last year during my senior year of high school. In my case, it was between healthcare and art. I decided to go with stability, which is healthcare. It's reasonable since this is what most people would prefer. But you mentioned in your video that some don't really care for a stable and predictable job because they value creation more. Being one term and a half into, or being 6 months into my program, I'm only beginning to learn more about myself. I probably prefer creating and making art above all else. It's stupid for me to only fully realize this since I've been drawing since 4 years old. I've consistently drawn, daydream, about my art. I don't know if it's passion or an obsession anymore, but it is there really is there really a difference between the two? Uh, anyways, what essentially what she's saying is, if I'm gonna read this next part, said I would much rather show people my animation than my bachelor degree. I don't care for the academic rigor. I don't want to tire myself out from doing readings and studies I don't care for. Um, the art route is painful, but so is every other path. I feel a deep sadness knowing I gave up on the thing I grew up doing, the thing I spent probably the most time trying to practice and perfect. I've expressed these feelings to my friends, and they said I should just switch as it's not too late since I'm a fresh new grad. But this is why the conflicting feelings have persisted. I'm too scared. I know I probably sound helpless, as the easy solution is to switch to art. Um, I think your video also helped me with guidance. Not everyone is made to seek a stable career, and it's okay to follow a passion as long as you have a plan. Maybe I'll finish this degree up while figuring out how I can make it in the art industry. I know I'm young and career changes happen. I just hope something good comes out of this. Thank you so much, Zoo. I appreciate you. But yeah, I think this is a very common it's a common thought that I think everybody has regarding their career, especially when you're pursuing art. So, like, thank you for sharing your story. Um, I didn't read everything, but I mean, I read this, but for the sake of the video, I'm keeping it short. But it seems like you have a passion for creating, and I totally understand picking stability. And in my last video, I said, some people like they're okay with that. And I think if anything, that is the most sensible thing. Like why not get something that is that could keep you afloat, that could keep you stable, um, and it keeps you happy because you get to have friends, you get to um, have money coming in, you get to go out on trips. Like you can have a healthy lifestyle. And that doesn't mean that you can't have that kind of lifestyle like with art. But it is hard. It is very hard. It's hard because I said this before that you don't have a set path that okay, just go to school for 4 years in art and then you're just guaranteed a job. Um, but I would say for Yuzu, Yuzu, I you should continue to do art while you're doing your schooling. I would not give up your medical school or learning healthcare. If anything, that's incredible that you're in that field or you're trying to get into that field. Like you guys are goated as hell, man. The world needs more people who could help and heal. There's so much sickness around, and so thank you for pursuing that. But it doesn't mean that you can't do art. Like you could be learning your craft or you could be learning your studies and still do art on the side. Yes, your studies are going to be like 90% of what takes the bulk of your time. The 10%, you can still draw and learn and practice. Especially now, there's so many online resources for you to just practice. I don't recommend you just quitting uh, if you're unsure, like I don't think that you should just quit your schooling right now and just pursue art unless hey, if whatever your heart says, right? Like you saying this comment says a lot. It says that you're unsure, but you also want to do this thing. So why not just do both um, until you feel confident about it? It's I think you said it yourself that you could potentially finish school and go through with it and then do art on the side. You definitely can do that. Um, you don't need to be this like top of the line. Like S tier artists that all you do is like 12 hours of art every day and everybody knows who you are. Like, you don't need to be like that. You're doing art so you could share your story with other people. You do it for yourself. Um, but if you're interested, try checking out a school called, um, there's a few schools. So if you have the money, I mean, sure, you can go to like Art Center or wherever. But if you're short on cash and you just want to take these kind of like these flash courses where you pay a couple of $100, maybe 1,000, and you have like 2 months to 3 months of like just this one thing that you want to learn, I recommend Brainstorm. It is a online school. It used to be in person, but everybody who teaches here are they're industry professionals and they know what they're talking about, and you could select a specific topic that you want to learn. So if you want to learn foundation, they have like 10 different foundational stuff. If you want to be more advanced and learn form, language, visual design, or world building. If you want to learn rendering, like how to render and paint really well, like they teach all of that stuff. And you could honestly, if you had the discipline, you could learn this practice on your own without having to go to school. It's just going to take more discipline on your end. There's more of a commitment outside of your the school that you're going to now. um, yeah, yeah. I think there were some other ones that I could mention too. I think it's called Concept Design CDA. CDA. It's called Concept Design Academy. I never been to this school, but I've heard really good things. I don't know how crowded it is here though. Um, CDA Concept Design Academy. A lot of these classes, it's really on you to take in the lectures and ask questions and then be disciplined throughout the week to practice. Because oftentimes students think that they could just take a class and all they do is the homework and then they're going to be good. But you need to go beyond that because you got to understand that these teachers, they're dealing with 10, 15, 20 students at a time. And they don't know what it is that you need exactly unless like you put in more of an effort and then you ask them for critique or you ask them for a little bit more guidance, then they could really put you on track as to what you might need. Um, but a lot of this stuff is like they'll the homework is just standard practice, but you need to do a little bit more. But you could totally do this while you're going to school. Um, like during the summertime, you could definitely like take a class or two on the things that you want to learn. And yeah, yeah. And also like surround yourself with people, like-minded people who also create, who you want to become. Don't hang around with people who don't support your passions. Do not do that. It's one thing if people are worried for you. It's another thing if they just shut you down and they say that, oh, you'll never be anything or there's no money in this. Like, don't listen to those people. They don't fucking know. How the fuck they know? Um, like the fact that people make a living off of this proves otherwise. And you always want to be around like-minded people. Like you don't want to be around people who are projecting their failures onto you. Excuse me. Um, because then you feed off of that energy, right? When you're around people who don't create, who aren't passionate about the things that you do, or at the very least, maybe they don't do those things, but they're just supportive. Like they're positive. They don't do art, but they're good people to be around, and they want you to be happy and wish the best for you. You always want to be around those people. Don't let those people go. But like go to conventions, go to events, like meet artists that you like. Um, don't hesitate to reach out to certain artists that you admire because chances are, like sometimes they'll reach out, they'll respond to your messages and give you some advice. Um, but Zoo, I hope that helps. I hope that helps. I think you know what you need to do. Uh, yeah, your story is more of a restatement to yourself, right? Like you know what you want to do. And I'm just here to say to give you the okay. You can do the art and go to the school. But hey, if you fucking hate medical school and you want to go full ham on this art thing, you could do that too. But just realize you gotta like you gotta practice. You gotta constantly practice and move and learn and grow. Uh yeah, yeah. Hey, appreciate you, Zoo. Anyways, hope you guys do well this week. Again, I'll be more consistent with these. I thought I could release 2 videos a week, but it's like one video and maybe some other ones a week. But I really appreciate y'all. And remember, do not be around motherfuckers who don't appreciate you, man. Who don't support you. Not saying like they gotta support your, if you have a fucking gotcha addiction like me, or like a porn addiction or something, like, or drug habit, like, not say like, they should support that. I'm just saying like they want the best for you, and they could talk to you honestly because they want the best for you. That be around those people, okay? But cut people off who bring you down, who doubt your abilities, okay? Cut all that shit out, man. It's look, you're not gonna be alive one day. Think about that, man. Life is too short to be around fucking. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, love you guys. Bye bye.